kill me. Run. What the fuck is that? I don't know.
My name is Sarah Connor. I hunt Terminators.
He's the most lethal Terminator ever created.
I'm going to help you.
If we don't win this one, it's all over.
Aloha! This is Trinidad the Island Man, your Island Man, coming to you live once again from beautiful Hawaii here on the island of Oahu, bringing you, yes you, the best movie reviews on the entire island of Oahu. And well, this weekend, I went ahead and I had the chance to see an early sneak preview screening of Terminator Dark Fate. As you know, this is the latest Terminator movie. It will hit theaters, November 1st, I think this Friday. And in some places overseas, it's already being shown in several other countries. Well, remember our rating scale. Shock a thumbs up. It's good to see. I recommend it. Shock a thumbs down. It's bad to see. It's junk. I don't recommend it. And for the latest Terminator movie from the franchise, it is a shock a thumbs up. Now that being said, I must caveat this, that it is not a strong shock a thumbs up, but it is a shock a thumbs up, and it is worth seeing, especially if you love the Terminator franchise. This brings back Arnold Schwarzenegger, Linda Hamilton, who hadn't been seen since Terminator 2. Additionally, the new stars in it are Mackenzie Davis, who plays the hero sent back from the future to protect Natalia Reyes, basically the new Sarah Connor in this. Against the new Terminator played by Gabriel Lunas. All of them do surprisingly well in this movie, especially Linda Hamilton and Arnold Schwarzenegger, recurring their roles as Sarah Connors and the Terminator. And the action, as this is directed by Tim Miller from famously Deadpool Part 1, the action is phenomenal, and it should be seen just for that alone. And the special effects are, top-notch. This is probably the best CGI for the Terminator series that we've seen, being, the latest and greatest stuff. It shouldn't be any surprise there. With that, I do, I can't go into any spoilers because it's not out yet, so this will be totally spoiler-free. But I will say that, and caveat that, it's not as strong a movie as it could be because of the story itself, unfortunately. This is what, the sixth Terminator movie? We had Terminator 1, T2, Terminator 2, we had Terminator 3, The Rise of the Machines, we had Terminator 4, Salvation, and finally Terminator 5, Genesis, which I thought was, at least the first half of Genesis was very creative and it really went for it, pushed it into a new direction. It was all very interesting, to kind of return to the very first movie and change it up using time travel in that. But the moment that they went away from the 80s into the present day, is where the movie fell apart, Geonosis. That being said, this movie, Terminator Dark Fate, despite the good acting, despite the fantastic special effects and the excellent fight scenes in this, as you have seen from some of the trailers already. Some of these fight scenes are phenomenal, very reminiscent of Deadpool Part 1. Thanks to Tim Miller and his shooting style. That being said, I have to say that there are large portions of this movie, Terminator Dark Fate, that feels like a rehash from all of the other movies. All of them. All the other 5 movies, all the other 4 movies. If you took pieces of those other movies and you put them in a jar and you shook the jar up and you pulled it up, somehow it's solidified together, you would have a big block of something called Terminator Dark Fate. As you've seen from the trailers, this is essentially, it tries to be Terminator 1. We have a new Sarah Connor with a new Defender to help her from the future against a new Terminator. The Terminator itself appears to be an amalgamation of, the living metal under the solid exoskeleton of the T-800. What we had seen kind of from the T-1000, the living liquid metal, and the T-800, which is what we got in Terminator 3, Rise of the Machines, with that woman. A solid metal body covered and coated with the living metal. Now, this takes it a little bit further, as you've seen in the trailer, so no spoilers, that the living metal portion of this Terminator, Gabriel Luna's character, can separate itself from the metallic body. Whereas in Terminator 3, they couldn't really do that all that much. She would send pieces of herself off to control other machines, but other than that, she could not become a separate entity in itself, still controlling the metal body as Gabriel Luna's character does. So basically there are 2 Terminators in one, and we see glimpses in the future that this is pretty much the standard Terminator in the future. So it's nothing special just sent back for this movie, or for this, for this mission to take out the Defender, or the leader of the Resistance, this new John Connor, being, Natalia Reyes's character, the new Sarah Connor. Now, what, and so essentially, kind of in a way, we get from Terminator Genesis, we get a returning Arnold Schwarzenegger, that again, like in Genesis, has been on the scene for many years. Thus he's older. The Terminator itself has aged to blend in to society, as much as we saw in Genesis, so they don't have to de-age him at all. Basically come back to help Linda Hamilton's character, Sarah Connor, to help the new, soldier from the future save Reyes, Natalia Reyes' character. And that new future soldier is played this time by Mackenzie Davis, who does an excellent job. I've never seen her in anything else that I recall, but she does a great job. And as you have seen in the trailers, especially where she's being interrogated by Sarah Connor on the bed, that she is part machine. So right there, what do we take away from that shaken bottle, that fits her character? Gee, Terminator Salvation. Whereas, there was a cyborg character that fought the machines with, with the Resistance in that movie. So this is, again, just another similar kind of idea taken to a new extreme, much like the liquid cyborg or the liquid metal and solid exoskeleton that we've seen. So right there we have a part of Terminator 3, a part of Terminator 4, mixed together with an older Arnold from Terminator 5 Genesis, or I'm sorry, Terminator 5 Genesis, and all along the backdrop of Terminator 1, and a tough, no nonsense, female heroine being Linda Hamilton, returning with all the training from T2. I won't go into any spoilers of what happens and from Terminator 2 on, but this is a direct sequel to Terminator 2. So 3, Rise of Machines, Salvation, and Genesis never happen in this movie. This is, set in modern day, current day, 2019, after the events of 1997 Terminator 2. Whereas they even say in the trailer, Linda Hamilton says they stopped Judgment Day, and that is still true. There are some plot problems with this in how Arnold is still around. They explain it in the movie, which is another big complaint that other fans of the franchise have had. It's like, why send back only one Terminator at a time to kill off, the resistant leader from the future? Why not send a whole bunch of Terminators? Well, okay, I'll give you a little bit of a spoiler. That's how they explain Arnold's character. He is one of these other Terminators that have stuck around for so long. So right there, he is not the same Terminator from T1 or T2. As we saw in T2, he died. But he does evolve like the Terminator in T2 to respect humans, and thus is assisting Linda Hamilton, Mackenzie Davis's, and Natalia Reyes's character. So right there, that's a little bit of a plot flaw that I, didn't exactly buy 100%. But, upon closer examination, there's really no easy way to have explained, well, we saw him go into that molten metal pit to get melted at the end of T2. How is it that he's still alive? And this is how they explain it. That to me is the major flaw in this whole plot. But other than that, it very much plays out, like I said, like an amalgamation of all these movies. So it is not, say, the groundbreaking, amazing, new idea of a movie that Terminator 1 or T2 was, but, given the great acting, the fantastic special effects, and the fight scenes, I still give it a shocking thumbs up and say, yes, you should go ahead and go see this movie. 3D or IMAX, for some of these scenes, will be spectacular to see on the big screen, with all the action. So if you want to spend the money for that, go for it. But, I don't feel it's really necessary. You can see it in 2D and still be happy with the fantastic, action and the sets and the fights choreography. Fine with just 2D. You don't need to spend that extra money. But definitely go ahead and see it, especially, for the chemistry still between Linda Hamilton and Arnold Schwarzenegger. They've been doing the press tours and the junkets. You've seen them on several interview shows if you're watching, like, The Tonight Show or Graham Norton show. They're doing all the interviews for this movie, and the two really do have a great chemistry together, and it shows in this movie. And again, Gabriel Luna's character is you know, as the cold, calculated Terminator, very much like the one from T2, the T-1000. He is spot on and does a fantastic job as, you know, the new Terminator. And Mackenzie Davis is a fine soldier. Another plot flaw is we see that, you know, as like in T3, or I'm sorry, T4, Salvation, even I'm getting them confused now, you know, she is cybernetically enhanced, but she is still human. However, there is no explanation for a major weakness in this character. That why would, you know, the future Resistance build a cybernetic enhanced human that seems to be so weak and so crippled, you know, by events, you know, that we see right up front after, you know, several of these big action scenes that almost totally incapacitates the character, that makes her almost useless and, you know, kind of stops her in several scenes until, you know, she's able to recover enough. But still, so yeah, I don't quite understand that. I guess maybe they felt, you know, in the writing that she would have been too powerful alone, that there'd be no need for Arnold if she was just had all the power of a Terminator straight up front for the whole time, that they had to weaken her in some type of way. Very much how she gets, you know, the surgery where she is cybernetically enhanced. I might be wrong. I haven't heard anything about this. Maybe, you know, it'll be mentioned on the DVD commentary track. But it looked very much like a $6 Million Man scene. You know, she's in the hospital gown under, you know, these big lamps, you know, from like the old surgery days, with the mask, you know, about ready to get worked on to get this cybernetic enhancement after sustaining great injuries in the future, you know. And, you know, it just kind of looked like it's an homage scene from the opening of the $6 Million Man. Again, another person who was cybernetically enhanced. Maybe I'm reading too much into that. Maybe I'm not, you know. The actual truth on that hasn't come out yet, but that's how I feel. And when you see that scene, anybody who's, you know, remembers that TV show will think, hey, this kind of looks like that. So just keep that in mind when you see this, you know, this movie Friday when it opens up wide. Yeah, so fortunately I was able to go ahead and see it. Shaka thumbs up overall. It's a nice bookending possible new future to reboot the franchise after Genesis. Again, I didn't mind the first half of, you know, Terminator 5 Genesis. It just got too convoluted during the second half, and then the end, leaving it up for a sequel. If they never make another one for part 6, this ends as, you know, as it should, like the very first Terminator movie did, whereas maybe you didn't need another sequel. Hopefully it could continue, but I feel that the way that it continues, it needs to kind of go like Salvation into the future now. You know, no more going into the past. I think that's been done too much with this franchise now. And it's got to move forward. You know, that's about it. So yeah, just, you know, I'm glad that I was able to see a special showing for this movie and bring you this review. Despite, like I said, the plot inadequacies, it's still a Shaka thumbs up, and you should see it for the action, for the acting, you know, with these characters alone, especially if you love the Terminator franchise overall, despite, you know, as shaky as maybe Terminator 3 and Terminator 5 was. Terminator 6, Dark Fate, pretty good overall. Shaka thumbs up. All right, thank you so much, and aloha.